Comfort is not loud. It doesn't conquer. It seduces. It waits in warm rooms and easy routines, in nights without resistance, in days that demand nothing and promise peace. At first, it feels like rest, safety, a reward. But slowly, something disappears. Your edge dulls, your mornings soften. Your spirit forgets how to stand tall. The ancient warriors understood this enemy well. They feared comfort more than pain, more than death. In feudal Japan, a young swordsman once walked away from battle, not because he lacked courage, but because the silence of discipline felt heavier than the chaos of war. This story is not about swords. It is about the inner blade, the one every man must sharpen alone. Modern life offers endless cushions for the ego, soft escapes, instant pleasure, and 1,000 ways to avoid the quiet voice asking more of you. The Stoics warned of this. Zen masters trained against it. Samurai lived in direct opposition to it. They followed a path of intentional discomfort, not out of cruelty, but out of respect for human potential. This is a story of a man who chose warmth, who slowly lost his strength without realizing it, and who was forced, through silence and fear, to awaken the warrior his comfort kept asleep. This is not motivation. It is remembrance, a return to discipline, stillness, presence. This is your path, if you are willing to walk it. The morning sunlight spills across the floor in gentle, unhurried streaks. He rises, not to struggle, but to the quiet rhythm of ease. The sheets are warm, the coffee familiar, the day already mapped in predictable motions. There is a comfort here, soft and inviting, a cloak draped over every intention. No urgency, no challenge, just the quiet hum of life passing as it always has. At first glance, it appears safe. The workday ends on time. Meals are eaten without thought, pleasures taken without effort. Every distraction is calculated, measured. Social media flickers like a tiny glowing river, carrying him along without resistance. Even the body obeys without demand, moving from chair to door, from work to bed, from habit to habit, all with silent agreement. Yet beneath the surface, a subtle corrosion begins. The muscles of the mind, once taut and responsive, relax into a permanent stretch. Thoughts drift longer, decisions postpone themselves without alarm. The warrior within him, once alert to subtle cues, now slumbers under the warmth of routine. He feels it in small ways, hesitation where decisiveness should be, an unfamiliar ache in the chest during silence, a gnawing that cannot be named. Ancient Stoics warned of this. Marcus Aurelius spoke of a soul softened by convenience, a mind dulled by safety. Zen masters taught that the absence of challenge is the first form of suffering. The lesson is not dramatic, not loud. Comfort never strikes. It never shouts. It simply whispers, "Rest here, you need not fight." And in that whisper, the spirit loses its sharpness. Science confirms what the sages have long observed. The human nervous system thrives on friction. Growth requires tension. Resilience is forged in challenge. When stimuli are predictable, repeated and gentle, synapses weaken, attention wanes and dopamine, the chemical of motivation, fades under constant ease. Yet he does not see this. The ego masks the decay as wisdom. I am at peace, it says. I am successful. I am safe. But the body knows the truth. The heart beats slower in moments that once demanded courage. The hands, once steady, tremble slightly at the unknown. Even sleep, that supposed sanctuary, offers only shallow reprieve. His mind dreams of small victories, minor comforts, tasks accomplished without effort. And in these dreams, the warrior is already losing. The house is silent, the streets are quiet, and the world outside offers no immediate threat. And yet the true battle is already underway. It is invisible, internal, relentless. It does not require swords or enemies. It requires only the daily acceptance of ease. Each decision to avoid discomfort, each glance away from challenge, chips away at the potential that once burned brightly within him. Here, in the calm of a predictable morning, The first lesson unfolds: comfort never attacks, it replaces. It trades growth for ease, presence for distraction, potential for peace. The bargain is silent, seductive, and absolute. And now the whisper of discontent begins to grow, almost imperceptibly, nudging him toward questions he has avoided. Soon he will meet the first signs of decay, the gentle warnings of a spirit neglected, and the pull toward a path he cannot yet see. The body knows before the mind, and in that knowing lies the first step toward awakening. The day stretches forward, slow and forgiving, as if conspiring to lull him deeper into ease. He moves through tasks mechanically, the hands of the clock dictating rhythm rather than intention. Every decision is unconsciously filtered through a lens of minimal effort. Why push? Why strain? Why disturb the fragile peace that has been carefully constructed around him? And yet, even in the warmth, subtle signals emerge, tiny disruptions that hint at what is slipping away. A forgotten deadline stirs unease, a fleeting irritation at a minor inconvenience flashes in the mind. A brief pang of anxiety in the chest reminds him that life is not entirely safe, not entirely controllable. The warrior inside stirs, sensing the erosion of readiness. But it is quiet, ignored, buried beneath layers of rationalization. Comfort is seductive because it masquerades as wisdom. You are smart to avoid unnecessary struggle, the mind whispers. You know your limits. You are safe. And for a time it is convincing. Even the senses align with it. Warmth, sweetness, familiarity, soft light. The body responds with pleasure, reinforcing the illusion. The nervous system, deprived of challenge, learns to crave only the predictable. Yet this same comfort, this gentle seduction, quietly constrains him, bending his potential into a narrower, softer form. The masters of old would have recognized this immediately. The samurai of feudal Japan trained in austerity, not out of cruelty, but out of respect for life's inherent unpredictability. Zen monks endured the cold and the hunger to see clearly, to sharpen the mind, to awaken the spirit. Stoics embraced voluntary hardship to tame the ego, and to prepare for what life inevitably demands. These were not acts of heroism, they were acts of preservation, ensuring that the self could withstand reality in its rawest, harshest form. He, by contrast, drifts, and in that drifting, fear begins to root. Fear not of battle, not of external threat, but fear of himself, of the untapped strength lying dormant, of decisions postponed, of courage deferred. The mind senses a slow weakening, an erosion of clarity. And yet the day continues, calm and undisturbed. It offers no punishment. The world will not force him to change. The next morning carries a chill that is sharper than the previous day's warmth. He awakens not with ease, but with a subtle tension he cannot yet name. The muscles feel heavier. The mind moves slower, searching for motivation in the familiar comforts that now seem hollow. Tasks once simple require effort. Decisions he would have made instantly now linger in hesitation. The body remembers readiness, but the spirit has grown sluggish. He walks through his routine, noticing small fissures. A conversation with a colleague stirs impatience he cannot explain. A minor setback at work ignites disproportionate frustration. Even the body complains, stiff shoulders, a dull ache in the knees, the subtle weight of fatigue pressing against the chest. These are signals, quiet but undeniable. The warrior's edge is dulling. Ancient wisdom calls this the slow decay of potential. The Stoics observed that strength is not sustained by comfort. Marcus Aurelius wrote of souls softened by indulgence, minds diluted by ease, courage squandered in the absence of challenge. Zen texts echo this truth. The bamboo that never bends in the wind will crack in the first storm. Strength requires tension. Resilience demands friction. Without deliberate struggle, the spirit weakens quietly. The man does not see it yet fully. He rationalizes, I am healthy. I am at peace. Life is manageable. The ego builds castles around excuses. Yet beneath the calm, subtle fear begins to arise. Not fear of the world, but fear of himself, of the decisions postponed, of the courage deferred, of the body and mind he once knew as sharp and alive. The days begin to stretch longer, not in time, but in resistance. Even simple tasks provoke discomfort. The mind wanders in patterns of distraction. Social media scrolls, television episodes, minor indulgences, all seem harmless. Yet each is a thread in a tapestry of avoidance. Every instance of ease is a choice to defer growth, and growth deferred is strength eroded. In the evenings, he notices it most. Sitting in silence, a subtle unease gnaws at the edges of his consciousness. He feels restless yet lethargic, aware yet passive. The body responds instinctively, the nervous system sending alerts he cannot fully interpret. Modern neuroscience would explain, dopamine spikes diminish with routine pleasure. Neural pathways weaken under lack of challenge. The prefrontal cortex, the seat of focus and decision-making, loses elasticity without effortful exercise. The masters of old, however, required no science. They observed the same patterns in men, generation after generation. Samurai recognized the enemy that comfort creates. Monks, cloistered in austere temples, trained rigorously not to overcome an opponent, but to overcome the self. The lesson was clear: if you do not stress yourself against life's inherent resistance, life will stress you anyway, and the body, the mind, and the spirit will pay the cost silently. Small failures, unnoticed by others, now accumulate. A forgotten commitment, a neglected task, a hesitation to face discomfort. The pattern emerges. The warrior within is not gone, he is merely dormant. Yet each day of inactivity allows the dormancy to deepen. The first conscious choice to rise, to act, to resist, is now becoming heavier than before. The body knows weakness before the mind can rationalize it, and in this knowledge lies the first confrontation with reality. The subtle signs of decay grow sharper over the following days. His mornings are restless, his thoughts scattered. Even small decisions carry a weight that was once non-existent. He reaches for familiar comforts, warm drinks, soft blankets, the glow of a screen, but they no longer soothe. Instead, they highlight the gap between what he has become and what he once was. Every choice made in avoidance whispers of lost potential. The mind, once a blade, now bends easily under pressure. The ego protests less loudly, but its influence has grown. "It's fine," it murmurs. "There is no urgency. You have time." And yet, beneath the rationalizations, the body responds with tension. Shoulders tighten, the chest contracts subtly, eyes flicker with impatience at the smallest frustration. These are not dramatic failures. They are erosion, the silent weakening of readiness. He begins to notice the patterns in daily life. Every delay, every small indulgence, every easy choice chips at his attention and focus. Tasks that once demanded discipline now feel burdensome. Even creativity, that spark of internal fire, dims under the weight of repeated comfort. The very structure of his day, the routines, the repetitions, the minor sacrifices, was meant to sharpen him. By softening those edges, he has dulled himself. Ancient systems speak of this erosion in metaphor, warning students through parable and ritual. Zen masters describe a pond left undisturbed. The water stagnates, life within it decays, reflections become distorted. The samurai teach that the blade unsharpened loses its edge. The body untested becomes fragile. The mind unchallenged becomes blind. Resistance is not punishment. It is the medium through which strength is realized. Avoidance is not relief. It is the silent enemy of mastery. He feels it acutely now in social interactions. A minor challenge, a disagreement, an unexpected request elicits frustration, doubt, hesitation. In these moments, the dormant warrior flickers, trying to rise, but is smothered by years of soft acquiescence. The tension within is subtle yet persistent, a quiet alarm that something is amiss. Fear is present, not of failure, but of insignificance. The slow realization that he is capable of more, yet has surrendered it to comfort. Modern science reinforces what ancient wisdom always knew. Neural pathways responsible for attention, motivation, and emotional regulation atrophy without use. Hormonal systems, accustomed to mild stimulus, fail to prepare the body for challenge. The man begins to feel it physically: fatigue, irritability, restlessness. The symptoms are not dramatic, but they are persistent. Each day of ease becomes an investment in weakness. And yet recognition has arrived. In quiet reflection, he sees the pattern forming, a life guided by avoidance. The first conscious step toward change is simple: awareness. He cannot yet summon the courage to act, but he can see. And in that seeing lies the seed of transformation. Tomorrow he will meet the first mentor, not in force, not in words, but in presence, and begin to understand the discipline that discomfort can teach. The man arrives at a quiet place, unremarkable to the eye, but heavy with presence. A small courtyard, worn stones underfoot, a single tree standing straight despite age. The air carries a weight that is not oppressive, but insistently alert. Here, he is no longer surrounded by the soft cushions of comfort. Instead, he is met with stillness, a stillness that watches, that waits, that reveals. The mentor appears quietly. Not imposing, not loud, just a man whose presence seems to compress the space around him, a subtle gravity that commands attention without a word. His gaze is calm, steady, reflective. The man feels something in that gaze, something uncomfortable yet compelling. The recognition of potential squandered, the acknowledgement of weakness without judgment. No speeches are given, no lessons are handed down. The mentor moves through the courtyard with deliberate care, touching the stones, observing the tree, pausing as if in conversation with the unseen. And yet every action teaches, every silence instructs. The man notices the small details, the weight of the breath, the alignment of posture, the patience in movement. It is as though the mentor's life itself is a lesson, spoken not in words but in presence. The encounter awakens an uncomfortable awareness. The man sees the contrast between ease and purpose. He sees the subtle erosion of his spirit reflected in the mentor's calm certainty. The realization hits quietly, but with force. He has been hiding from challenge, avoiding discomfort, and softening his own strength. And the mentor, without saying so, makes him understand that awareness is only the first step. Observation must be followed by action. Ancient Zen texts call this shikantaza, just sitting. It is the practice of presence, of observing the self without distraction or interpretation. The mentor embodies it not as a technique, but as existence. Modern psychology supports the principle. Sustained attention, self-observation, and reflective stillness strengthen the prefrontal cortex, increase emotional regulation, and restore clarity. The body and mind, long dulled by comfort, respond instinctively to the presence of someone who has disciplined both. The man begins to mirror the mentor unconsciously. He walks slower, breathes deeper, notices sensations he had ignored for years. The chatter of thoughts quiets slightly. He recognizes the patterns of avoidance, the subtle ways he has deferred responsibility to ease. The mentor does not point them out, he only exists, and in that existence the lessons are unavoidable. This chapter is not about instruction, it is about reflection. The man learns the value of observing himself without judgment, of recognizing the toll of comfort without seeking blame. The warrior within stirs, responding to presence and discipline rather than coercion. Fear begins to appear, not external danger, but fear of accountability, fear of untapped potential, fear of confronting the self fully. For the first time, he feels the weight of his own inaction, not as guilt but as clarity. And in that clarity, the stirrings of transformation begin. The mentor's presence is a mirror, reflecting both the decay and the potential for renewal. The man senses that the path forward will demand discomfort, discipline, and patience. And he begins to understand that these are not punishments, but the tools of mastery. The first confrontation with truth has arrived. Awareness of weakness is the gateway to strength, but only if followed by deliberate action. Days pass in the courtyard, measured not by clocks but by presence. The man moves with intention, observing the mentor in silence. Meals are simple, tasks minimal, but each action carries weight. He feels the subtle tug of unease, the body protests, the mind resists, but he stays. Here, the discipline is invisible, woven into every deliberate movement. He begins to notice small truths. The energy that arises from focus, the clarity born of stillness, the subtle power in restraint. The mentor speaks rarely, but when he does, the words are like stones cast into water, small, precise, and causing ripples that reach far. Comfort is a thief, he says, but only if you do not notice it. Resistance is the forge where the spirit is tempered. The man listens, absorbing not just the meaning, but the cadence, the authority, the lived certainty behind the words. No argument arises. The truth resonates immediately. Ancient Japanese philosophy teaches that knowledge without practice is a shadow. Wisdom is not in reading the scroll, but in walking the path. The mentor demonstrates this daily, rising before dawn, walking silently through the courtyard, attending to mundane tasks with extraordinary care. Each act is discipline incarnate. The man begins to mirror this rigor, finding that small efforts, sustained, create ripples in the mind. His attention sharpens, his breath steadies. The restless agitation that once dominated his awareness diminishes subtly, almost imperceptibly. He encounters fear again, not the fear of danger, but the fear of confronting his own inaction. Memories of shortcuts, of comfort preferred over courage, surface unbidden. Yet under the mentor's gaze, these fears do not shame, they illuminate. The Zen principle emerges. One does not battle fear externally, but observes it, learns from it, and allows it to guide disciplined action. Modern neuroscience supports this. Exposure to uncomfortable truths strengthens the prefrontal cortex, enhances self-regulation, and rewires the brain to face challenge with calm focus. In the quiet moments, the man reflects on his life. He sees patterns previously invisible: avoidance, procrastination, the subtle prioritization of comfort over growth. He begins to understand that the warrior spirit was never lost, only neglected. Strength does not vanish. It lies dormant, waiting for attention, patience, and rigorous care. The mentor does not create the transformation. He merely provides the mirror, the space, the example. The rest is choice. By the end of the first week, the man senses the stirrings of change. His posture is straighter, his thoughts clearer. He moves with more deliberation, notices what he had previously ignored, and feels the subtle exhilaration of emerging presence. Yet he also realizes that this is only the beginning. Awareness and reflection, though powerful, are insufficient alone. The body, mind, and spirit must now be tested against deliberate challenge, against the friction that forges mastery. The path is no longer theoretical. The dormant warrior has glimpsed the way forward, but the next chapter demands action. Discipline must become voluntary suffering, chosen daily, to awaken the full potential of mind and body. The first morning of deliberate hardship arrives like a blade against his skin. The air is colder than he expected. The water from the basin is sharp, unforgiving, and yet somehow awakening. Every movement, every breath, every intention feels heavier. The comfort he once relied upon resists him at every turn, whispering its old. Seductive promises, stay, rest, relax, and yet he does not. The mentor's presence, calm and unwavering, reminds him silently. Strength is forged, not given. He rises before the sun, muscles stiff, lungs craving warmth. Steps taken in stillness become the measure of presence. Even mundane tasks, a sweeping of the courtyard, a slow preparation of tea, walking the worn stones, are performed with intensity. Each action is deliberate, a small suffering voluntarily chosen. The mind protests, labeling it unnecessary, irrational. But the body, when it moves with intention, begins to remember itself. Strength is not found in ease. It is reclaimed through tension, through friction, through the disciplined embrace of discomfort. The mentor observes, silent as ever, teaching not with commands, but with expectation. The lessons are subtle. The way the body aligns, the way the breath controls agitation, the way the mind focuses when attention is demanded. The man begins to understand an ancient truth. Discipline is not punishment, nor is it suffering for its own sake. Discipline is self-respect expressed through action. It is the deliberate refusal to let comfort dictate the boundaries of possibility. The days unfold with predictable unpredictability. Cold mornings, hungry hours, silent walks through uneven terrain. The man's body aches in ways it has not known in years, but the ache carries meaning. The mind, previously dulled by ease, begins to focus more sharply. Decisions that once hesitated are now made with deliberation. Even fear, the subtle, lingering fear of inadequacy and avoidance, loses its grip, confronted daily through repeated challenge. The mentor introduces the principle of incremental resistance. Voluntary hardship must be consistent, intentional and measured. The Stoics called it the daily obstacle, a small friction chosen to temper the soul. Samurai practiced austerity in every action, from fasting to meditation, to teach the mind and body that presence cannot coexist with indulgence. The man begins to see the connection between the physical tension, the mental focus, and the awakening of inner strength. Each small act of suffering is a lesson, each ache a teacher, each deliberate choice a reclaiming of potential. In this crucible, subtle changes emerge. Breath steadies under stress. Heart rate responds to challenge with calm rather than panic. The mind can linger in discomfort without seeking escape. Awareness of presence grows. The previously dormant warrior begins to stretch his edges, reclaiming the clarity, strength, and discipline that comfort had stolen. And yet the journey is only beginning. Voluntary suffering, even when chosen, is merely the vessel. The true test awaits in confrontation with fear itself, the fear of the self, the ego, the untested potential lying dormant beneath years of indulgence. The man has embraced discomfort, but the next chapter will demand he face his deepest fears without flinching, learning that true mastery is born at the edge of courage. The days blur not in monotony, but in the steady rhythm of intentional struggle. The courtyard becomes a crucible. Each step, each breath, each ache carries meaning. Morning frost bites at his skin. Hunger gnaws subtly. Every movement tests patience, presence, and will. The comfort he once cherished now feels like an alien weight, a relic of a self he is leaving behind. Yet he persists. The mentor remains silent, observing as the man labors against the quiet resistance of routine and body. There are no accolades, no praise, no acknowledgement. Each act of effort is its own reward, its own teacher. The man begins to perceive the underlying pattern. Discomfort chosen deliberately is a mirror of life's inherent resistance. Avoid it and weakness spreads. Embrace it and the spirit awakens. Ancient Japanese texts describe this as shugyo, the disciplined training that transcends technique to touch the soul. Stoic philosophy mirrors it. Hardship voluntarily endured strengthens the mind against inevitable suffering. Modern neuroscience confirms this as well. Stress applied incrementally and intentionally rewires neural pathways, enhancing resilience, focus, and emotional regulation. Every shiver from the cold water, every twinge of fatigue, every silent step under the weight of deliberate effort strengthens circuits long dulled by comfort. The first signs of transformation are subtle. Breath becomes steady despite discomfort. Hands that trembled in hesitation now move with intent. Thoughts sharpen. The mind, once scattered and restless, aligns with purpose. The man begins to recognize the difference between suffering imposed and suffering chosen. One breaks the spirit, the other hones it. Each ache becomes a teacher. Each deliberate act of resistance awakens a dormant part of himself. Yet fear begins to rise, not the fear of physical pain, but of self-confrontation. The man faces the truth of his prior avoidance, memories of shortcuts, indulgences, and small betrayals of his own potential surface. The fear is sharp, gnawing, demanding accountability. The mentor says nothing, yet the silence speaks volumes. Courage is not the absence of fear, but its conscious engagement. One must meet the internal enemy directly, without distraction, without evasion. Through repeated voluntary hardship, the man begins to feel a shift. The restless agitation of comfort fades. The mind that once sought ease now craves presence. Attention becomes a tool, not a reflex. Strength is no longer merely physical. It is integrated, embodied, spiritual. The warrior he feared he had lost begins to stir, fully awake, tempered by friction, guided by discipline, and illuminated by awareness. By the end of this cycle, the lesson is undeniable. True mastery is not granted. It is chosen daily through deliberate discomfort. The ego resists, fear tests, but each act of voluntary suffering sharpens, strengthens, and restores. The man has begun to reclaim what comfort had quietly stolen: the presence, the discipline, the clarity, and the unbroken potential of the spirit. The path now turns toward the deepest confrontation, fear itself, the final guardian at the threshold of mastery. Only through facing it directly can the dormant warrior become fully alive. The first chill of dawn bites harder than any morning before. The man rises, not from comfort, but from the deliberate choice to confront what has been buried beneath years of ease. The air is crisp, the earth uneven beneath his feet, and every step demands attention. His muscles ache from the previous trials, but today the challenge is not physical, it is internal. The fear that has lingered, subtle and insistent, now stands before him, demanding recognition. Fear wears many masks. It has appeared as distraction, as lethargy, as avoidance. It has whispered through hesitation and disguised itself as comfort. Today it manifests clearly. The fear of inadequacy, of confronting untapped potential, of facing the truth of a life half-lived. The man feels it in the chest, a tightness in the lungs, a tension that cannot be ignored. The mind wants to flee, the body protests, and yet the mentor's presence reminds him silently, there is no escape, only engagement. He begins by observing the fear, not judging it, not resisting it, simply observing. Zen practice calls this mindfulness of the self. Stoicism frames it as the obstacle itself is the path. Modern psychology supports it, naming fear, observing without avoidance, diminishes its unconscious hold, and allows the prefrontal cortex to regulate emotional response. In silence, he notes the tightness in his chest, the rapid beat of his heart, the restless thoughts circling insistently. He does not fight them, but he does not run. The mentor watches his presence steady, a living embodiment of mastery without aggression. He does not speak. Words are unnecessary. The man feels the contrast. One who has faced fear countless times, calm, rooted, unshaken. The lesson emerges without instruction. Courage is cultivated through direct confrontation, not avoidance. The body learns to act despite fear. The mind learns to focus despite discomfort. The spirit begins to awaken through the refusal to flee. He takes deliberate steps toward the source of his fear. Each small act, lifting the gaze, stepping into open space, acknowledging long-ignored ambitions, is both simple and monumental. The nervous system, long trained in the ease of comfort, protests. Adrenaline rises, muscles tighten, thoughts scream for retreat. And yet, each movement, each conscious breath reshapes the inner landscape. The dormant warrior is no longer passive. He begins to respond with clarity, presence, and measured intent. The day progresses in this tension. Every interaction, every decision, every glance inward is a mirror of courage. Fear becomes a teacher, a gauge of strength, a compass pointing toward what is real and meaningful. He begins to understand that avoidance was never protection. It was imprisonment. Facing fear directly, with calm attention and deliberate action, restores freedom. Presence and courage are inseparable. The man has confronted the first true measure of his internal resistance. Yet the path demands one final lesson: integration. Strength and fear, discipline and presence must coalesce into mastery of self. As the sun rises higher, the confrontation deepens. The man feels fear in its rawest form, not a fleeting worry, but the gnawing awareness of unfulfilled potential, of moments wasted in the illusion of ease. Memories of hesitation, avoidance, and compromise surface with each breath. His mind tries to rationalize, to soften the impact, to seek the familiar comfort of distraction, but he resists. Each acknowledgement of fear is paired with deliberate action. The hands that once trembled now move steadily. The breath, once shallow, finds rhythm. The spirit, once dormant, responds with subtle awakening. The mentor does not intervene. He does not instruct. His presence alone acts as both guide and mirror, reflecting the depth of courage yet to be claimed. The man begins to see that fear is not an external opponent. It is the measure of his own inner resistance. Zen philosophy describes this clearly. The mind that flees the internal enemy will never find peace. Stoic wisdom echoes the same truth. Obstacles are not barriers. They are instruments of awakening. Step by step, he moves through the discomfort. Each challenge, small, deliberate, unavoidable, becomes a crucible. The muscles remember tension and release. The mind learns focus in the midst of agitation. The body responds to demands it once avoided, reshaping habitual patterns formed over years of indulgence. And within this rhythm, a subtle exhilaration emerges, a recognition of vitality long forgotten, a sense of presence previously clouded by ease. He begins to integrate lessons from prior hardship. The voluntary suffering of Chapter 4 now fuels courage. The awareness gained in Chapter 3 allows reflection without panic. The recognition of fading strength in Chapter 2 underscores the importance of action. Fear, once paralyzing, now becomes a tool, a measure of alignment between self and potential. Each step toward it strengthens the connection between body, mind, and spirit. Modern neuroscience aligns with these ancient truths. Exposure to controlled stress enhances resilience, trains attention, and rewires neural pathways for emotional regulation. But the lesson transcends biology. The man experiences it in the body, in the chest that no longer tightens with panic, in the mind that no longer scatters, in the quiet but undeniable authority of presence. Courage is no longer reactive. It is deliberate, cultivated, embodied. By evening, the confrontation with fear yields a subtle victory. The internal landscape has shifted. Comfort, though present, no longer dominates. Distraction, though available, no longer seduces. The warrior within has reclaimed space, power, and clarity. Fear, once the silent master, has become a teacher. The edge of his spirit has been sharpened, the foundation of presence reinforced. The path ahead is clear. Strength and courage must now integrate fully into life itself, not as exercises or challenges, but as living practice. Mastery requires synthesis, the union of awareness, discipline, and fear into a seamless expression of presence. The man rises before dawn, as he has done for weeks now. Yet there is a subtle difference. The chill of the morning no longer bites with intimidation. It sharpens him, reminding him of presence. The aches in his muscles, once complaints of strain, now signal strength regained. Each breath, deliberate and deep, affirms his existence in this moment, rooted, aware, disciplined. The journey of struggle, fear, and discipline has not ended, but it has become a living rhythm, a constant practice rather than an extraordinary event. The courtyard is quiet, the stones worn smooth by generations, yet it feels alive. Every sound, the wind brushing leaves, the scrape of his sandals across stone, is amplified in awareness. He moves with precision, yet without hurry. The lessons of the mentor, the rigor of voluntary suffering, the confrontation with fear, all have coalesced into habit, into presence. He no longer seeks recognition or validation. The act itself is the reward. This chapter of his life is subtle, almost imperceptible to outsiders. There are no battles, no dramatic tests, Instead, the transformation is internal, profound and continuous. The Zen principle of Mushin. No mind becomes tangible. He acts without distraction, without ego, fully present in each motion. The Stoic notion of virtue as action, without attachment to outcome, resonates in every decision. Modern psychology would note the strengthening of neural pathways for focus, emotional regulation, and sustained attention. But he does not think of these mechanics. He feels them. Everyday life now becomes the field of practice. Tasks once mundane, preparing tea, tending the garden, walking along the stones, are performed with intensity and presence. Even challenges, whether social, mental, or physical, are met with deliberate calm. The fear that once haunted him is no longer an obstacle but a guide, a measure of alignment between potential and action. Discomfort is no longer something to avoid. It is a signal, a teacher, a constant companion in the cultivation of mastery. He reflects silently on the path he has walked. Comfort seduced him, dulled him, and threatened to replace his potential. Discipline, chosen suffering, and presence reclaimed it. Fear, faced without escape, became a mirror of untapped strength. And now in the quiet, there is clarity. The warrior within is awake, tempered by experience, disciplined by practice, and alive with a calm authority. Yet he knows the journey continues. Mastery is not a destination, it is a living process. Presence must be maintained, fear continually faced, discipline consistently practiced. There will be days of weakness, moments of temptation, the silent lure of ease. But he walks now with awareness, with understanding, with an inner authority born of hardship and reflection. The path of the awakened warrior is uncelebrated, unnoticed, and often silent. Its victories are private, its rewards intrinsic, its power enduring. The sun climbs higher, casting long, steady shadows across the courtyard. The man moves through the morning with a sense of rhythm he has earned. Each step a testament to lessons learned, fears faced, and discipline maintained. He no longer measures success by applause or recognition. The transformation is internal, a quiet strength that courses through mind, body, and spirit alike. Presence itself has become both armor and guidance. Every action, no matter how small, carries intention. He prepares tea with careful, meditative focus. He sweeps the courtyard, observing each movement, each breath, each sound. Even in solitude, there is purpose. The Zen idea of kaizen, continuous improvement, is visible in every small repetition. The Stoic notion of virtue as action resonates deeply. Life is lived in deliberate, aligned steps, not in grand gestures or fleeting accolades. The modern self-help idea of habit formation feels almost literal. Consistent effort over time has rewired not just behavior, but the very structure of his mind. Challenges arise inevitably, a sudden dispute at work, a minor setback in daily routine, the pull of old distractions. But he meets each with a calm he once thought impossible. The mind no longer reacts impulsively. The body no longer trembles with anxiety. Presence tempers emotion. Discipline guides action. Fear, once a tyrant, has become a measure, a teacher, and a companion. He knows its lessons intimately. What was once paralysis is now fuel for clarity, courage, and careful action. There is a subtle joy in this practice, though it is not flamboyant. It is a quiet satisfaction, a steady pulse of mastery felt rather than flaunted. The warrior spirit, once dormant under layers of comfort and avoidance, now moves freely, integrated into daily life. Strength and courage are no longer extraordinary events, but the foundation of existence. Each breath is deliberate. Each movement is intentional. Each thought aligns with the presence of body and mind. He recalls the mentor, whose guidance was never direct, never loud. Presence itself taught more than any instruction could. The man now understands. Mastery is less about external victories and more about internal alignment. The practice of daily discipline, the willingness to face discomfort, the courage to confront fear, and the ability to inhabit stillness without distraction. These are the marks of the true warrior. The journey continues, yet he is no longer the man who sought comfort, whose life was softened by ease. He is the man who has embraced suffering deliberately, who has faced fear without retreat, who has cultivated presence and discipline as the tools of his spirit. The path is ongoing, uncelebrated, and eternal. Each day is a new opportunity to refine strength, to practice courage, and to live fully within the clarity of awakened presence. The ultimate lesson stands: mastery is quiet, relentless, and lived in the choices made when no one is watching. The warrior's path is never complete, but each deliberate step affirms the spirit, sharpens the mind, and strengthens the body. Without applause, without recognition, and with unbroken presence. Core moral of the story: true strength emerges not from comfort, recognition, or avoidance of fear, but from disciplined presence, deliberate action, and the courage to face oneself fully every day.